Armanet understood power was not given. It had to be taken. She made a choice to embrace evil. Set, the god of death. They made a pact. A pact that would unleash darkness itself. Armanet was reborn. A monster.
When you first took on this film, how much did you dig into the history of the earlier Mummy films? Not just the 90s ones, but also the kind of the original kind of 1932 Boris Karloff thing.
I took the core of my inspiration from the Karloff films. Those were the Karloff film. Those were the movies that I grew up loving, the classic Universal monsters. I really like the Brendan Fraser movies too, but in looking at it, I wanted to harken back to where we began this whole adventure. And you know, there are certain powers that the Mummy has and had in both versions of the film, but that originated with Karloff. And there are shots of his eyes and his ability to mesmerize that I literally stole from that film. And you'll see them, you know, now with Sofia.
I grew up watching the 1932 one. You know, Boris Karloff made that character iconic. The movie is iconic. I grew up watching the Lemley films. I was fascinated with the monster universe, the monster world, the monster films, and they were the first monster movies. They were the first horror movies, and I think they were made in such beautiful, wonderful depth. I think all the monsters had some sort of interesting metaphor that we can choose to look at in that way. I think those films gave the audience options to trigger, you know, to go wherever they wanted, steer their ways through and use their imagination. And I find them that having been done with so much finesse and charm. I love those films.
How much did you guys know about the earlier Mummy films? Because there were the ones in the 90s with Brendan Fraser, but obviously
we watched. I watched them. I went to the movies, and you know, I love Brendan, and they were kind of tepid.
Yeah.
But at the time it was, you know, action.
Yeah.
It was actiony at that time, but you know, Tom Cruise is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
You know, nobody does it like.
I agree. Tom Cruise is his own monster.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw the Brendan Fraser mummies.
Oh.
I knew all about them because I knew how, you know, popular they were.
Mm-hmm. How many are there? They're about 4 or 5.
I think there were three. I think.
But I knew even when Kurtzman first told me about this, he's like, "There's no connection to it. It's a total rethink."
I thought it was important to, you know, steep myself in the history of the Mummy, and you know, I've grown up with the tale my whole life, from books to cartoons to films, and I was adamant that, you know, I make my character a classical heroine, but of the future, you know, and that she was steeped in a truth that related to people now. And I think that was the ethos within Universal and with Alex and Tom, that we take this classic, we pay homage to the past, but we carry it on into the future for a younger generation, new audience.
Welcome to Prodigium, Mr. Morton. From the Latin, monstrum vel prodigium. A warning of monsters. Forgive the state of things, we had very little time to prepare for our guest, and only the information Jennifer provided to go on. In truth, she works for us. It's not an exact science, this business.
And the business being?
Evil, Mr. Morton.
I guess the big difference between this and all of the earlier films is that the central kind of antagonist is a female character, a princess, as opposed to a pharaoh. Why did you decide to kind of go down that route, and how did you go about casting that role?
I wanted an original story for the Mummy. I just wanted it to be something that hadn't been done before. And to me, one of the key tenets of a monster movie is that you have to fear the monster and fear for the monster, which means giving them a relatable story. And we had developed drafts in which the Mummy was a man, and they were fine, but it wasn't original enough. And when I decided to make it a woman, I got so excited about the idea of this princess who had been promised power and had been robbed of it by the man she trusted most in the world, her father, and that power was given to a boy. And now you're talking about a fairly relevant and topical idea that also happens to echo everything I believe to be true about a monster movie. So I knew that no matter how far over the line of evil she traveled, you would always know that there was a rooting interest in the character about where she had come from. And I really wanted the audience to connect to that.
I was sent the script in like about a year and a half ago, and my initial thought was to say no. Weirdly enough, I didn't want to play a monster who was walking around scaring people.
Okay.
And
so
I was afraid to go back into the makeup as well, a
So
little bit.
What persuaded you?
Alex. Because I said no, and then he got back saying that he still wanted to meet me, and I said of course. And then we sat down, and he just shared with me his the amount of also respect and admiration he had for the originals. He also shared with me the fact that he wanted to honor those films, and he also, we kind of agreed that, you know, the mummy needs to have a sort of a backstory. And even I told him, even if it wasn't on the page, or even if it was not shown exactly what happened to her, that I wanted to play her with those sort of layers, but he agreed entirely, and I thought, you know, I can only say yes. That's you know, it's an honor then to have been given the role, and to honor the original ones is fantastic, I think, and also over 80 years after the original ones.
So can you tell us a bit about your character? Because she's an archaeologist?
Yes.
Yes.
Or is she? No, I play Jenny Halsey, and she is an archaeologist who lives out in the Middle East, stationed down in the Middle East, works for World Heritage, protects artifacts from insurgents, and she meets Tom's character, Nick, or they have a history, and he steals a map from her that basically leads her to what she's been looking for.
My character is Vale, and Nick is Tom's character. We are soldiers in Iraq, and we're no longer fighting any kind of a war. We're just there to kind of steal things and to try to get there before these antiquities get blown up. And we get ourselves in a situation that is greater than our ability to get out of it. And we, unearth the mummy. And so Vale's kind of character in this movie just doesn't want to be involved, and he doesn't want to get pulled around. He doesn't want to do anything that Nick wants him to do, which is very similar to my relationship with Tom. In that I really like Tom, but I didn't want to do any of the crazy stuff Tom would want to do. And we did, little things. You leave the hotel, and he would go, come with me today. And that means you're jumping on an army helicopter, cruising over the desert with him driving to get to set. Where I'm like, a town car is fine.
Tom?
But
you go. Where do you go?
Yeah.
What do you say? When he says,
yes, Tom.
There we go.
Tom, expects and demands and gives a level of intensity that I think is kind of unparalleled in any actor out there. And the goal is always to deliver for the audience an experience they've never had before, and that means giving 100%. And I do that, he does that, the actors do that, the crew does that, and this is a movie made with a lot of passion and a lot of love by people who just wanted to bring it.
He's so funny, and he's so generous, and he's such a perfectionist and cinephile, and you can't help but, want to elevate your game when you're around him. And he's also Tom Cruise, he's a legend, and I was just so excited to get the chance to work opposite him and learn from him, and try my best to beat him at something in regards to stunts, and I failed, because who can beat Tom at any of those things? But really, he's great, and he's everything I hoped Tom Cruise would be, and more.
What the hell is that?
Parachute! Parachute!
can do this!
And just finally, what are you working on next? Because there's a lot more Dark Universe stuff to come. Are you involved with that? Or?
Yeah, I am. The next movie will be Bride of Frankenstein, and Bill Condon is directing it. And Bill Condon did one of my favorite movies, Gods and Monsters, which is about James Whale and the creation of Frankenstein and Bride Frankenstein. And he, uniquely understands monsters and what they represent and what it's like to make those films. And Javier Bardem will be playing Frankenstein's monster, which is very exciting. So it'll be a cool thing. I'm really looking forward to it.
Welcome to a new world of gods and monsters.
I saw her. She is real.
Please meet Princess Amenet. She will claim what she has been denied.